The subject is Turkey. So, by beginning my speech, I'll have a very humble, very modest objection to the title, to the name of this convention. A very humble objection, because the name is Collapse of the Rule of Law in Turkey. If I am wrong, please correct me. The word collapse and this formula, collapse of the rule of law in Turkey, if I understand correctly, it does mean that this concept, the rule of law, did jadis existed in Turkey, and for miscellaneous reasons, it no more exists. I think that's a misconception of Turkish legal system. The rule of law in Turkey did never exist in the past, does not exist today. I'm very pessimistic. I'm sorry for this, excuse me. And probably it will never exist tomorrow. I will try to explain why I say the things in this way. I admit that the days we are passing through is the really worst imaginable days of the history of the rule of law in Turkey. But that's just a question of degree. That's just a question of degree. It was not something brilliant in the past. So I can remember what we lived in the country since my childhood. Those days are the worst days, imaginable worst days. Tomorrow never knows, but I'm not very optimistic for tomorrow. I will explain why. I'm an economist. I have an approach to the concept of to the legal concepts. So I will use economic terminology to explain the non-existence, to describe or to explain the non-existence of the rule of law in Turkey. For the lawyers, I think this presentation looks a little bit funny, but rule of law is a good. Like all other goods, rule of law is a good, like a car or like the defense. Rule of law is a good because it is produced within the country. And with the economist, we call something produced within the country, we call it a good. There are private goods like the car. There are also public goods like justice, like rule of law. Rule of law also is produced by the country, by the citizens, by the institutions. So it's a good, but it is not a private good, it's a public good. But at the essence of the thing, for a good to be produced, this good, a private good or a public good, it doesn't change. For a good to be supplied, to be produced, I mean the rule of law, we need a demand for this. We need a demand for a good to be produced. It is the same logic for private goods and also for the public goods. For example, let's think about a car. If a car is not demanded by the citizens, there will be no supply of this kind of car. No demand, no supply. I think in Turkey, Turkish electorate does not demand in sufficient quantity the concept of the rule of law. But this lack of demand by the electorate, by the citizens, is not a problem of ignorance. There's not a problem of, I don't know, because most of the people are illiterate. No. The economists call it rational ignorance. For you to demand a good, public or private good, once you consume it, you have to be an expectation of utility of this. When you consume a good, when you consume a smartphone, you have an utility. The rule of law is like a smartphone. When you consume the rule of law in a country, you have to have an utility of this. But if we make a very, I'm sorry for the term, a scientific dissection of the society, scientific dissection, because our constatation is that the society, as I won't say as a whole, but at least more than 80%, they don't have a private interest in the production of the rule of law in the country. So they don't demand it. If something is not generating an utility, you don't demand it. Turkey is a civil law country, so normally the parliament has to produce the rule of law, but the parliament sees that the electorate does not demand this, so they don't supply it. It was the case for yesterday. That's the case today, and probably it will be the case for tomorrow. We are passing through very catastrophic days concerning the rule of law. But if the polls are not very, very biased, we see that the ruling party has at least 40% of the votes. 40%. It's something unimaginable, unthinkable. But that's the truth. That's the reality. I think that's because my look to the problem and their look to the problem is not the same. For them, the production of the rule of law brings them a disutility. Mm-hmm. Me, I am expecting the production of the rule of law for myself, for my family. But for a huge majority of the country, even from the opposition side, the production of the rule of law will not generate an utility for them. If you have a question, I can try to explain it. The non-existence of the rule of law is not the business of a small minority, let's say 20-25%, who is oppressing the society, no. The people themselves, they are not demanding this. I think the only way to overcome this situation, the only way to overcome this vicious circle, what I call it a vicious circle, this rule of law, this public good is not demanded. Not because it is not demanded, it is not produced. Because it is not produced, it is not demanded. So it's a kind of vicious circle. The only way to overcome this vicious circle is Turkish full membership to EU. I will try to explain it by an old Greek term, not Greek term, it's a Latin term, but used in Greek terminology, in Greek ex-theaters, ex-tragedies, Deus ex machina. The existence of the rule of law can only be valid in Turkey by Deus ex machina. So it means some superpower bringing it without being produced by the infrastructure. And this system is only the EU membership of Turkey. The EU membership of Turkey to EU. Just why? I see this story since 30 years as a professor of economics. So in the last 20 years, I had very serious problems with Turkish people. And I always say the following: whatever the conditions are, whatever the concessions they demand, we have to be a part of it. If we are not a part of it, the future will be a catastrophe, a disaster for us. And I am very unhappy, but I think I was right. Yeah, I don't know. Mr. Harrington, Mr. James Harrington, thank you very much. He mentioned a golden age of Turkish judiciary, for example, probably between 2000 to 2010. Mm-hmm. I'm married with a lawyer, so she was a judge, so I know a little bit the situation among the judges, among the judiciary. Even in the golden ages of this, between 2000 to 2010, we were making some surveys among the judges. And we were asking the following question: if in a case you are in a dilemma between what we call the state interest and the highest values of the rule of law, which one you will prefer? 70% of them, they said, we will prefer the interest of states. Even in the really golden age of the judiciary. I am pessimistic, but I'm also realistic, I think. So what I say to all my Turkish friends: let's do the impossible. Let's do the impossible to overcome those problems with EU. I am living in France, and in French, we have a perfect idiom: l'impossible n'est pas français.
L'impossible n'est pas français.
Thank you very much, dear colleagues. Thank you very much.